I love how Shuckle is far more popular and viable in underused than it is in overused. GC lower tiers continue to bewilder me. Shuckle is a Pokemon of extremes. It is extremely poor at dealing damage, but extremely good at taking it. Shuckle is a menace in GC underused, and you do not want to underestimate it. If you don't prepare for Shuckle, then it will laugh at you, endlessly using Defense Curl and Rest while it wears you down with Toxic. Shuckle is able to answer some of the most dangerous Pokemon in GC underused. It's typing an incredible bulk at a Hardwall, Nidoqueen and Granbull, among other physical attackers. Its ridiculously high defense stats let it blanket check most of the Pokemon in this tier. There's not that many Pokemon who can reliably break through Shuckle. Shuckle is a pivotal member of defensive teams as a result. It's one of the most hated Pokemon in GSC underused. Shuckle has several flaws and it's exclusively a stall Pokemon, but it works very well on these teams. Don't fuckle with Shuckle. Let's analyze the mold Pokemon. Shuckle has bottom tier attack stats, so it's purely relegated to a defensive role. You can try Defense Curl plus Rolo, but more often than not, it's a suicide button that doesn't actually sweep, so don't do that. Shuckle shines defensively though. Shuckle is able to counter some of the most dangerous Pokemon in GSC underused, and blanket check nearly the entire tier. Shuckle's typing is also quite good in this metagame. Shuckle is a rock type who isn't weak to ground, and it has relatively few weaknesses. Shuckle's ridiculously high defense stats let it tank attacks in Pokemon like Piloswine, Electabuzz, Mr. Mime, Hypno, Dodrio, and more. Shuckle's high defense stats combined with its typing make it the best wall to Granbull and Nidoqueen. Granbull can do nothing to Shuckle unless it wants to C-team it with Hidden Power Rock. Unlike Omastar, Shuckle is not at all threatened by Thunder or Hidden Power Ground. Shuckle also uses Rest Talk to absorb Lovely Kiss. Shuckle can then cripple non-rest Granbull with Toxic, or stall out rest sets with Defense Curl. Nidoqueen is a powerful mixed attacker in this tier, and Shuckle is the only thing who can counter all of its sets. While Shuckle can hurt Nidoqueen back, Nidoqueen just gets PP stalled by Defense Curl. Shuckle counters other physical attackers too, like Pinsir and Dodrio. Shuckle can even check Scyther, thanks to Defense Curl, Toxic, and its high bulk. Shuckle is a pivotal member of stall teams, who use it to handle a variety of threats. Granbull, Nidoqueen, Dodrio, Pinsir, and more aren't doing much when Shuckle is around to stop them. Shuckle is a good backup answer if your other stall Pokemon are weakened or gone. If your Chansey was blown up by Haunter for example, then Shuckle is a backup answer to Mr. Mime and Electabuzz. It's just very difficult to break through Shuckle. Shuckle most frequently uses a Rest Talk set to maximize its longevity. Sleep Talk also lets it absorb status moves from Pokemon like Granbull, Nidoqueen, Hypno, and Jumpluff. On its Rest Talk set, Shuckle uses Defense Curl and Toxic. Without Defense Curl, Curse Talk Granbull can just set up on Shuckle and break it when fully boosted. Defense Curl helps stop this, as well as make Shuckle better versus other physical attackers. Defense Curl also has a massive 64 PP, which lets Shuckle win PP wars and stall out Nidoqueen. Toxic is Shuckle's best way to deal damage. Toxic puts Pokemon like Scyther, Pinsir, Gyarados, Mr. Mime, and non-rest Granbull on a timer. It can also force Rest Talk users to sleep. Toxic means Pokemon like Gyarados can come in on you freely. Shuckle used to drop Sleep Talk and use Flash, but this has declined in usage over time. Flash has a lot of PP, and it can force Pokemon out when their accuracy has been neutered. It's effective at beating Baton Pass teams. Sleep Talk is often too good to give up though, and Flash's benefits aren't that amazing. Shuckle should only be used on stall teams. Shuckle on offensive teams would be a complete momentum sink, and it wouldn't help you that much. Blastoise is a required partner for Shuckle, not just because Blastoise is also required on defensive teams, but because Shuckle gives Qwilfish free entry. Electabuzz is another useful partner, since it can wear Qwilfish down with Pursue and check Gyarados. Chansey also helps Shuckle, since it has Heal Bell and can back it up against special attackers. Shuckle is not without considerable downside however. Its biggest problem is that it's a literal red carpet for Quillfish. Quillfish is very important when fighting defensive teams because of spikes, and Shuckle can't do anything to stop it. Quillfish can also hit Shuckle hard with Hydro Pump. Giving Quillfish free entry is really not ideal for defensive teams because it can heal back up with leftovers and continue to set up spikes. Shuckle's other big problem is that it deals no damage outside of Toxic, which isn't that great in a rest infested metagame. This means that basically everything can come in on Shuckle and recover their HP. It also means you can just switch around with multiple rest hog Pokemon, not having any fear. Shuckle is also the slowest Pokemon in the entire tier, being outpaced by even the Slow Twins. This can make it difficult for Shuckle to come in at times, since it needs to take 2 hits. Shuckle, and Stall as a whole, are vulnerable to being hacked, since they are taking dozens of attacks over a long period of time. It just gives you more opportunities to fish for crits or freezes and break Shuckle. Most teams have a water type, like Gyarados, Slowbro, or Blastoise, as well as Quillfish, so it's not as unbreakable as you may think. Shuckle is a stall-only Pokemon who is decent, but has a lot of flaws. Alright, time for the history lesson. This isn't GSCPU, so I actually have things to say. Shuckle was mostly glossed over until recently. It did while Nidoqueen and Granbull, but it also let in Quillfish and it was very passive. It was difficult to fit on teams because it was a massive momentum sink. Shuckle was just kind of forgotten for years. It was one of those, in theory, yeah, it can be good kind of mons who people hadn't figured out how to use. In 2021 though, people figured out how to make Shuckle work and it was not playing around. Shuckle stall teams emerged in 2021 and were legitimately good. Shuckle, Blastoise, Crobat, Chansey, Electabuzz, and then your choice of a setup sweeper. At first, it was Curse Hypno, but Curse Talk Granbull and Bellydrum Quagsire proved to be good in this slot too. This team was very hard to break, and Shuckle was a large reason why. Previously, stall teams used Omastar as their normal resist, and while Omastar was good, it wasn't as good as Shuckle proved to be. You could previously break stall teams by hacking through them with Nidoqueen, but Shuckle made that much less reliable. You could previously break through stall with Thunder Granbull, but Shuckle stopped that. Shuckle anchored these teams. Shuckle stall exploded in popularity, and it's still being used to this day. Don't fuckle with Shuckle. The last thing I'll say before ending this off.